Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right. Welcome to the Gridiron. If you can give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way, next time I go live, or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. It's totally free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you want to help support my channel out, description box below, very top link, takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link in there somewhere in the description box. Takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, The Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,900 members in the group, and it is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I am putting stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants, The Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. All right, guys. Well, here we are. Well, it's getting close to midnight, so it's almost game day. But man, I love it. Just absolutely love it, don't you? And there's all kinds of things. The way the schedule's set. I mean, it's a difficult schedule, but I really like this. I really like the way it is. 2 games on the road, get them out of the way with. 2, winnable. I'm not saying we're going to win them, but winnable games, right? Especially if ABCD Lamb, runs around like this, like he did, of course, against the Eagles. Balls thrown to him. These guys, he doesn't catch anything. It's the Eagles who doesn't catch anything. But of course, against the Giants, he'll probably catch 57 catches for 9 touchdowns or something. But against the Eagles, he doesn't catch it. He can't catch a cold. But 2 games that on the road, divisional, and winnable games, winnable. Yeah, so it's going to be very, very interesting. I really like the way it's because we got a very hard schedule. Obviously, as everybody's been talking about. Then we come home and we got 2 tough games at home. But once again, doesn't mean we're going to win any of them or either of them or split or whatever. But if we can come out looking pretty good after these first 2 weeks, coming home against Kansas City, I mean, they didn't look like world beaters. They shouldn't have had the 6 points in the first half. Of course, it's just amazing how much luck. It's just like if I took a crap on the Kansas City Chiefs as it was coming out of my rear end, it would turn into a gold brick. It's just absolutely amazing how lucky some teams. Absolutely amazing. Situational football. I just can't stand it. Absolutely can't stand it. Situational football. What was it? Like about 45 seconds or so to go in the first half. Chiefs have no timeouts. Chargers hand the ball off. I can't remember the guy's name. He was a rookie, I think he was. Might have been or whatever. And it's like, basically the Chargers had all their timeouts. They're just trying to, get maybe a few more yards to get a little closer to field goal, better field goal position, whatever. Just get it. It just drives me crazy. Stay in bounds. Keep the clock running, you stupid idiot, right? We'll get it down to 3 seconds, call timeout, we kick the field goal, whether it's good or bad or not, Kansas City doesn't get the ball back. What's the stupid idiot do? He runs out of bounds, stops the clock with, I don't know, it's like 35 seconds or so, 40 seconds ago. So of course, Chargers kicked the field goal, I think went up 13-3. And of course, gives plenty of time for Patrick Mahomes because you know what was going to happen. You knew what was going to happen. complete. Yeah, I don't think they had like 4 yards in the whole first half, but of course in this one drive, because they were gifted the 35 seconds, he completes like a 40-yard pass. The guy's wide open. Then I mean, it's like, well, no, it was a good pass. I'm thinking of another pass, another one he threw on. That guy was wide open. It's a good pass, completion, and puts him in field goal range. And you know, they had to run the guys onto the field and all of that and everything, but should never ever have happened. I mean, the guys, you know, I can't talk. I can't stand it. Absolutely can't stand it when teams like the Chiefs get all, you know, these breaks. So there's, like, as I said, the Chargers should have not easily beaten, but the Chargers should have gone up 13-3 at halftime, not 13-6. But, you know, the Chiefs didn't, you know, once again, this certainly doesn't mean we're going to win. But we're at home, right? And, you know, actually, the last couple times we played the Chiefs, I hate saying coulda, shoulda, woulda last time we played them in Kansas City, but, you know, if anything went our way, if we had, you know, we could have beat the Chiefs last time we were in Kansas City. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But these first two games, right out of the bat, on the road against divisional opponents, you know, I like the way it's set up. I like it a lot. Get out of Dodge, right? You know, hopefully be at least 1-1 after these two. Come home, and the fanfare will have some excitement going for them and all and everything, right? But as per report here, anyway, Mr. Flott possibly will be starting cornerback number 2. So we'll have to wait and see. You know, obviously, once again, it could all certainly be all situational. I even saw a report. I'm not sure if it's in this report or not, but like where maybe Banks might wind up coming in on third downs. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Could be they get a certain amount of snaps each, and whoever played the best, that's the person who gets the nod week 2. Of course, you know, it depends upon, you know, can Flott stay healthy, right? Because he's not a very big guy. Has played very well, you know, for the Giants, but, you know, guy's very thin. Going to be interesting to see, very interesting to see, especially, right, say, if Flott has the upper hand, just say after the season's over with, right? You know, it's Flott's, Belton, McFadden, and Flott, right? Possibly 2 starters and a key backup, key contributor on defense, right? There's all 3 guys on defense, right? You know, it's contract year for them. You want to keep these guys together? I hope so. I mean, because Belton, you know, good third safety, right? We need 3 safeties on the field. He's the guy. Guy isn't nose for the ball, right? Flott, I mean, you know, we're not talking a lockdown cornerback, but, you know, very good. McFadden, I'm kind of surprised we haven't tried to lock the guy up sooner, right? So 3 guys on defense, you know, after this season's up, you know, because we're going to have to make a decision on actually, you know, both those cornerbacks after the season's over, right? Flott's 4th season, right? You know, there's no 5th-year option on Flott, right? So, you know, we're going to try to resign him, bring the guy back. And then, of course, we have to make a decision on Banks because we have to make a decision before the beginning. I'm an idiot. I forgot. It was like April or somewhere around there. But it's before the 4th season. For Banks, are we going to pick up his 5th-year option? Right. So you would hope, right, that both these guys want to really show out this year. I mean, because Flott, I mean, if the Giants, for whatever reason, don't decide to want to bring him back, if Flott can, you know, show his worth, you know, the Giants don't want to bring him back. Somebody's going to want to sign him, and you know, he's not going to get, you know, obviously $15-20 million a year. But if he has a nice season, he's helping himself, right? If not in New York, it'll be someplace else because a cornerback is, obviously very important. But same thing with Banks. You would certainly want to think that the Giants maybe pick up his fifth-year option, but we will have to wait and see, right? But as per this report, Flott will be getting the nod. CorDale Flott projected to start. Giants will reportedly start Flott against the Commanders. Giants may have reached a conclusion to the battle for the starting cornerback role opposite Paulson Adebo. Now, obviously, it's that, if the Flott starts, right, and he falls flat on his face and Banks, lights a fire on the Banks' rear end and the Banks really takes off, hope, or plays like we know he can, Banks might be starting week 2 against the Cowboys, right? Duggan of The Athletic is reporting that CorDale Flott is projected to start against the Commanders, with Deonte Banks coming onto the field on third downs. In his report, Duggan cites the time Banks lost to an unspecified injury in camp, as well as his inconsistent play, as the deciding factor in how the two will be deployed to start the season. Banks flashed improvement in camp and went on the field in preseason. He has all the physical and athletic traits to be a good cornerback in the NFL and is good at forcing tight window receptions. However, he remains inconsistent at the catch point and struggles to locate the ball when the situation allows. Yeah, there's one thing like with him. It's like, sometimes he's there. It's just that, as far as like getting his head around, or, as the ball's coming in, or as the ball's, reaching, get his hand in there to knock it down. But as Big Blue Kickoff Live, Paul Dottino, he has commented many a time that, Banks has been, has been sticky. His coverage, right? If he's given up a reception, it's not because he's been 3 yards away from the guy. And so sometimes, with the way these receivers are nowadays, it is unfreaking believable. The guys, the body control they have, they could just go up in the midair, come down with a freaking ball with one hand, somehow manage to tiptoe their 2 feet in balance before falling. These guys, these athletes are just freaking unbelievable. It's like the edge rushers. The guys are 6'4", 6'5", whatever. They can bend like Gumby. They're like 260, 270. It's just freakish, unbelievable freaking athletes. And the same thing with wide receivers. And, he can't take anything from these quarterbacks. They throw the ball to a certain spot for a reason. And sometimes you can be right there. And they still come down with the reception. And what it is, I don't think there's a metric in like PFF or nothing like that. Because it's like when the stats are all, the game is done, the smoke clears, the dust settles and all that. You look at the stats and it's like Banks gives up 5 receptions, 50 yards. And it's like, wow, that wasn't too good. But there's no metrics there saying how close he was to the person or how close he was to batting the ball down all 5 times. Sometimes you got to tip your cap to the offense, to the quarterback, and to the wide receiver. If the pass is that well thrown, if the reception is just that good, you got to tip your cap, right? But as I said, Paul Dottino, because he works, a few guys on Big Blue Kickoff Live, they see all the practices. The media isn't there for all the practices. We're not there for all the practices, right? They are. And he has mentioned several times because they're Monday through Friday. They have they go live for about an hour, Monday through Friday. Pulled the team. They're on. There's John Schmelk. There's some that Howard Cross is on there. Madeline Burke is on there. Pulled the team. Matt Sitek is on there. There's a couple other guys that are on there as well. They see. And so what's going on? But as I said, Paul Dottino has been with the Giants since 1983, Bill Parcells' first year. And he's mentioned several times during the preseason all that Banks' coverages look pretty good. He's been sticky. He gives up receptions, but he's been there. So we'll have to wait and see if this, maybe lights a fire under his rear end. Let's see. Banks' effort has been questioned in the past as well as more recent criticisms on his maturity. Now, there was another article done, and I did a video on this 2 nights ago. One of the people, a staffer, apparently, I'm not sure if it's somebody in the, on the Giants staff or I don't know. The janitor, so I have no idea, but somebody in the Giants organization anyway says that Banks needs to grow up. Now, it didn't get elaborated on, but so. But some of these guys are also coming out of college. They're not very old either, and if we get them around, you get them around maybe a Paulson Adebo, okay? Somebody can maybe, that maybe he looks up to and all and respects and everything. Maybe, maybe to help mature him, right? Just because he comes out of college doesn't mean that, hey, I'm 61 and I still got some growing up to do, right? I'm running out of time, but when I was in my early 20s, Lord knows that I have some growing up to do. Oh my goodness. I thought I knew everything, but Mama's wrong again, right? So, give him, this is Banks' 3rd year. Let's see what happens, right? Flott, on the other hand, has improved pretty consistently over the last year. He became a regular starter in 2024 thanks to injury. So, and the extra reps seemingly did him well. He also has experience playing both the slot and the outside cornerback positions, which could help the Giants field all 3 of their starting corners. Now, but which is true, but you don't want Phillips coming off the field either. Dying to see that guy. Hopefully him and Newman. They don't need to take off like a rocket ship, but they were here, right? And hopefully they're going up, right? Ever so or slightly going up, right? Getting better. Because they both did very well their rookie season. Very excited. 2 really good studs in the secondary. And I'll tell you what, when the Giants actually get some good guys they draft good guys in the secondary, gets me excited because all I keep thinking about is like freaking DeAndre Baker. Deonte Banks has not been a home run so far. Of course, Eli Apple, right? I think about guys like that, right? So when we actually make pick up a couple guys in the secondary and they really seem good, it really excites me. Giants head coach Brian Daboll has mentioned in the past that Drew Phillips' role as the slot corner can be involved being a part linebacker. At times, it's possible that he could shift to more of a star, meaning linebacker / defensive back hybrid, with Flott moves on to the field into the slot. So we can maybe have 4 cornerbacks on the field, right? Hopefully when that is the case, we're not going to have a lot of size on the field. So hopefully it's a passing situation, but we'll have to wait and see. It's also possible that this is a temporary solution and not a true conclusion to the roster battle. The Giants will likely assess and reassess the 2 as the season progresses, and Banks could regain the starting job if his play improves. The team could also be eyeing weekly matchups and will start whichever corner they feel provides the more advantageous matchup based on that week's opponent. Either way, the situation continues to bear watching. Now, I mean, that's a possibility as well, too. Yeah. Right? Week by week thing. Right? Who you know, the same thing as like obviously who's on the field. Right? Well, let's say, the Giants are standing on the sideline and the Redskins run out a jumbo package. It's like, oh, or if it's a running down or something, say that for whatever reason, Commanders run 2 running backs on the field, or it's a running situation, or it's a jumbo package. Whoever the Giants feel might be more advantageous as far as having the cornerback on the field who might be better in the run game, right? They go 4 wide or something or whatever, whoever might be better situation, or whoever's on the field, what wide receivers might be on the field might dictate, obviously, who the Giants have on the field on the defense. So, I mean, it could be like, Flott could be out there 10 different times. Banks could be out there 10 different times. We'll have to wait and see. The one nice thing, is that if you're listening to like the Fan, okay, which I can't really get here, with Bob Papa and Carl Banks. I believe Tiki Barber's there. I don't know, Phil Simms might be there as well. But, when Bob Papa's calling the plays, right, on the radio, he'll let you know who's coming in and who's coming out. Not necessarily, you don't always seem to get that when it's like a national, covered game. Sometimes, the reporters, they do a okay job letting you know who's on the field, but not all the time. And the thing that just ticked me off was week 1 when we were playing against Buffalo. But this happens every year. I notice this happens every year. So it is what it is, right? But I'm down here in South Jersey, okay, so the Giants are not a local game. The Eagles are. So when I'm down here, if I'm going to get the Giants, it might be on the NFL Network or something like that. So if the Giants are on the road like they were against Buffalo, well, then the NFL Network, has the coverage, but we listen to the I'm sorry, my dog Randy's right underneath my feet. I got to move my feet so I'm not stepping on him, but also I got to move my feet so I get comfortable. But anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, so I'm listening to the broadcast of the Buffalo Bills home broadcast, right? So, and they do what they got to do. I get it, but 90% of what comes out of their mouth is about the Buffalo Bills. They don't let you know, who's coming on the field for the Giants. They don't care. They probably don't even know, right? It seems like it's like, they'll have the quarterback, for the Bills. He's calling snaps, turns around, hands the ball off to the running back. Running back runs. He picks up 4 yards. Okay, now it's 2nd down and 6. All right, so the Bills in that there, they were in a 3-man wide. They had the one tight end. They said who made the tackle for the Giants on the field? Can we talk about the Giants? You hear like nothing at all about the Giants. Everything is about the Bills. So like, as I said, like with the preseason, right? If I'm listening to the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they're not talking anything about the Giants, right? So who's coming on and off the field? If I can't see it with my own eyes, sometimes you can't, I don't know who the heck's on the field for the Giants, right? And sometimes that's the way it is with like a national broadcast, even during the regular season. I mean, the like Fox or whatever, they're not going to say, okay, so-and-so is on the field for the Giants now, so-and-so is coming on the field, so-and-so and so-and-so. These 4 guys for the Giants just came on the field, and these 4 Giants just running off the field. And meanwhile, the so-and-so on the offense has a jumbo package. These 5 guys came on the field. These 5 guys, they don't do that. So it's not always that easy to follow who's on the field for the Giants all the time. But if you're listening to like not Big Blue, but Bob Papa, it'll give you good insight who's maybe on the field for the Giants or not, because he's on the radio. He's your eyes, right? So you're just looking, at the radio, so to speak. But he's painting a picture for you. So you in your mind as he's talking, you should be able to basically see what's kind of going on in the field. So he's your ears and eyes for you. Right, so he'll let you know what the Giants are doing, but when you're watching TV, it's sometimes it's a little more difficult. But it's going to be very interesting to follow as the season goes along. But you do know that both these guys are obviously they're fighting for something. Interesting to see. Will Banks actually light a fire under Banks's rear end, and because he's had some good moments. He certainly has had some good moments, but he's also had some moments where he's had to have somebody go up to him and say, "Hey, dude, let's step your play up a little bit." So going to be an interesting year for him. And unfortunately, it looks like Mr. Thomas will be out, listed as doubtful. So doubtful, questionable. Got a good shot. Probable, yeah. Doubtful, good shot, probably not. Doubtful. And you know what? If that's the case, you don't want the guy to play. If this was the Super Bowl, all hands on deck, baby. There's no way he's not playing, right? But this is a long season. What's best, obviously, for him and the Giants, okay, is when he finally gets this right, okay, and he feels like he's okay to go. You want him, and of course, you get down on your knees at night and you pray to sweet dear baby Jesus. He goes in there. Can he stay healthy? That's a big question too. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. So all this aside, once this Liz Frank injury is hopefully fixed and he's good to go, can he proceed to play the rest of the season without missing at any time? It's absolutely, especially pretty much any position, but offensive lineman, defensive line, every play you're either pounding someone or someone's pounding every play. So to play 15 games without a bump or a bruise or something is absolutely freaking ridiculous. Everybody's going to have something, right? But, for the most part, can he stay healthy where he can actually play every game? That's going to be something to keep an eye on because, he's missed a lot of time this past 2 years. A lot of time. But they said, you don't want him to go on the field and then come back off the field and go back on the field. And, he mentioned that too. The press was talking to him. The media was talking to him. Was that, he wants to get that cohesion going. He even mentioned this. Doesn't want to go on the field and then come off the field and have somebody else run down there for him, and then he goes back on it. Once he goes on the field, let's have him stay on the field and hopefully ride out the rest of the season. But for the most part, my next portion of our program, you really can't complain about the injuries or the lack thereof so far. But we got here. Giants Commanders Week 1 injury report. Andrew Thomas doubtful, but Malik Neighbors will play. Thomas will participate in team drills while Neighbors is held out of practice. I believe this was Friday. It was just, I think he gave him a day off on Friday. Neighbors gave him a day off. Right? There's no sense in irritating his toe or whatever it is any more than it needs to be. But Neighbors is good to go. Giants head coach Brian Daboll confirmed to the assembled media that starting left tackle Andrew Thomas would practice on Friday. At the same time, he announced that the star wide receiver Malik Neighbors wouldn't practice due to back tightness. And of course, it's like Jordan Renan keeps asking, so is it tight? Is it tight? Yeah. But Daboll said, he'll be good to go. And then the Jordan Renan's like, is it something long term or something? Oh no, he'll be good to go. And then of course Jordan Renan, is it like going to be like cancer or is he going to die from that? Oh no, he'll be good to go. And Jordan Renan's like, is it something we need to concern? Is it something happened from last year? Is he pregnant? What's Oh no, he'll be good. It's unbelievable. They will just keep saying the same thing over and Jordan. Is it what? Is it something? I mean, just shut. Up. I can't stand Jordan Renan. He's freaking annoying. But I don't know, some type of tightness in his back. So, but last time Malik played, in Washington, he had a heck of a game. The only problem, of course, he had that one drop toward the end of the game, which would have been huge for the Giants. Where he gave us a first down around the 10-yard line or somewhere right toward the end of the game. He hit him right in the freaking chest. It's like, Let's see. Dable said that Thomas would participate in at least some team drills, and the medical staff would assess his status after practice. Thomas has had a lengthy recovery from surgery to repair the Lisfranc injury that ended his 2024 season. The team has maintained that they have a plan for getting him back into playing shape, and it's clear that they don't want to rush his recovery. Yeah, I mean, because he's had, he's done some stuff with the team drills and all that and everything, but he's never had so far this year anything really close to like any type of game type, conditions that he's played under. So, I mean, if you kind of looking at something like that, I mean, you kind of even wonder even if he did play on Sunday, what kind of condition would he be in? I mean, you can be on the sideline riding a bike, you can do some drills, you can push the sled and the all that stuff. But I mean, doing that is one thing. Playing in a freaking football game, doing 60, 70 snaps or whatever is something totally different. Thomas is viewed by many as the linchpin to the Giants season. There have been a number of analysts who believe that the team now has the talent to be a threat in the NFC if the offensive line holds up. If the offensive line holds up. The Giants have done a considerable amount of work to shore up their depth on the offensive line, but there's still a big drop-off from a healthy Thomas to a reserve player, like maybe Hudson. As for Neighbors, Dable isn't worried about him missing the game on Sunday. Being held out of practice on Friday seems to be a planned deload to manage the back issue, which cropped up in the preseason. The Giants head coach assured reporters that he isn't worried about Neighbors, saying he'll be all right for Sunday. And, of course, I said Jordan Renan, is it something really bad? Oh, he'll be all right for Sunday. He'll be all right for Sunday. Is it something that happened? Was it from something from last year? And they were like, he'll be all right for Sunday. And Jordan, is it like cancer or something like that? And they was like, he'll be all right for Sunday. And Jordan asked, is he going to die for this? And they was like, he'll be all right for Sunday. I just can't stand Jordan Renan. I can't stand that guy. Thomas practiced on a limited basis with the starters and team drills, but said after practice that the final decision on his status for Sunday will be determined by how he feels on Saturday. He is managing pain and soreness. But his status for Sunday will come down to the risk of re-injury. Doubtful is defined by the NFL as unlikely to play. So I would not, because even when the press was talking to him, right, he said, he had some, at that particular time, he had some soreness, right? And, he just went through some team drills. He didn't go through a 60, 70 play, game with right, going up against another opponent every, what I mean? I mean, that would have been some unbelievable soreness. But he said, the stuff he was doing with the Giants, right, he was still sore. So, I mean, to put him in a game time situation where he's not in game time shape would just be asking a bit much. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, hopefully maybe next week. Right? You do kind of realize also, though, that obviously every spot on the 53-man roster is like gold, right? If they think there's going to be it might take 4, 5, 6 weeks or so. If they didn't think he was really pretty close, he wouldn't be on the 53-man roster. They'd probably have him on injured reserve, and he'd probably have to miss like maybe the first 4 games of the season. So they must think he is pretty close, though. Right. So I said Malik Neighbors was not given an injury designation and appears to be a full go for Sunday. But it's the injury report. I mean, this is for the Giants, this is pretty damn impressive. After all training camp, mini camps, this, that, after the preseason games, all this stuff and everything. All right, injury report: Giants out, nobody. Questionable, nobody. Doubtful, one guy, Andrew Thomas. They got one guy. Now, of course, after this game is over with, we all know the Giants. Hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm really wrong. But of course, we all know the Giants always seem to get injuries. Every team gets injuries, but some teams seem to get more injuries than others, and the Giants are in that category, right? But I mean, as of week 1, to have one guy who is doubtful. Of course, it's Andrew Thomas, which isn't great, but just to have one guy who's doubtful for week 1 for the New York Giants, it's pretty damn impressive. The Commanders, 2 guys did not practice, right? Noah Brown with a knee and Jonathan Jones with a hamstring. 3 guys who are full participation in practice, but there's no designations or anything who's, as of right now, on this report I'm looking at, who's like questionable, or anybody doubtful or not. But it looks like, and maybe at the most, maybe Noah Brown and Jonathan Jones may not play or might be doubtful for the Commanders. But for the most part, if darn near everybody for them looks like they're pretty much good to go. They might have maybe 1 or 2 guys that might be doubtful or may not play at all. But for the most part, they look like they're good to go. And, with the exception, of course, of Andrew Thomas, right? The Giants look like they're good to go. But one thing, you got to be very, very happy about, okay, is, what a difference a year makes. Now, we got a long way to go, the season just starting and all this stuff and everything. And, of course, once again, the Giants are well overdue for some good injury luck, some good injury news, okay? I've said this before because I said I'll say this the day I die, last year, the best team in the NFC, to me anyway, was the Detroit Lions. They were not allowed, okay, because it doesn't matter what you do. Don't matter. You get down on your knees and I say a prayer to sweet dear baby Jesus. Can we stay healthy? Right? Don't matter. Doesn't matter what you do. You can have 35 four-leaf clovers shoved up your rear end. You can have rabbit's feet. You can, like Talladega Nights, right? Will Ferrell. Oh, sweet dear baby Jesus, right? And all that stuff. Don't matter. Whatever football gods have in store for you, if it's not going to be your year, it's not going to be your year. Like last year, to me, the Detroit Lions had the best team in the NFC last year. Football gods, for whatever reason, told them go F themselves, and they totally decimated their defense. Totally decimated the defense. That's one of the reasons why they didn't make it to the championship game. They couldn't stop the Commanders when they played them in the playoffs. Now, don't get me wrong, the Commanders are a good team, blah, 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 all that stuff. But the Detroit Lions defense was just totally decimated. Unlike with the Eagles, right, who had like one of the absolute healthiest teams in the NFL, right? They were allowed. They had a great team, don't get me wrong, and I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I don't watch the Eagles, can't stand them. But they're a fantastic team, and if they won the Super Bowl, they certainly deserve it. But they were very lucky because they were very, very healthy all year long. I did a video. I seen a report done where they were. I think the one report, it was the Eagles were the second best team at staying healthy. The guys that they lost, or the games that they lost due to injury, and compared to the values of the positions that the guys played, right? The Eagles, it was an absolute joke. The Eagles are like the second healthiest team or whatever, and can't remember who the number 1 team was. But the guys like the Eagles lost. They did lose their right tackle for a period of time, right? But I mean, Jalen Hurts healthy the whole season. We meanwhile the Giants, what do we have, like 37 quarterbacks play last year, right? Not the Eagles. What happens when Saquon Barkley plays for the Giants? He gets hurt. Not the Eagles. He had 37,000 carries last year. Got 42,000 yards rushing. Didn't even have jock itch last year. But when he's with the Giants, he gets injured. They had their two wide receivers played the whole freaking year. Lane Johnson, their Hall of Fame tackle. He hasn't missed a game, I think, since Jesus Christ walked the earth. I mean, everybody, yeah, all their big time contributors on defense, all healthy. So anybody they lost was like they lost like a water boy, right? They lost, I think, two of their cheerleaders pulled their groin and they missed some time. Other than that, all their big stars, they're all healthy the whole season long. The Lions, as I said, their defense was just total. If you saw the, I'm sorry, I hate the Eagles. Can't stand the Eagle. If you watched the Thanksgiving Day game last year when the Lions played the Bears, wound up being a very good game. But there was like a point in time in there where seemed like every other play when the Lions were on defense, they lost a guy on defense who came limping off the field. And I can't remember who the announcer was, but it was like they had the Lions would have a guy and he was like limping off the field, and the announcer was like, "Oh, the Lions can't afford to lose this guy." 2-3 plays later, another guy from the Lions was limping off the field, and the same guy's like, "Oh, they can't afford to lose this guy on defense." And then 3, 4, 5 plays later, another guy from the Lions was limping off the field. "Oh, they can't afford to lose it." Their defense was totally annihilated. And one of the biggest reasons why, unfortunately, to me, the best team in the NFC did not make the Super Bowl because of injuries, right? But with the Giants anyway, I said, what a difference a year makes. Now, this is Pro Football Reference, right? So they talk about who was on the injury report for last year at this time compared to this year for the Giants, right? So now the Giants this year, okay, we have Andrew Thomas, right? But there was obviously a couple guys, okay, for the Giants who, or out, put on the injury reserve. But some of the guys like Bryce Ford Wheaton, okay, T.J. Moore, a lot of these guys got let go. They had injury designation. They got injury, paid off, injury settlements and all that. So the Giants had Ty Summers, Rico Payton, T.J. Moore, and Bryce Ford Wheaton all put on the injured reserve. Okay, in training camp and all of that. And then, of course, Andrew Thomas is doubtful. All right, so we had 4 guys that basically, during training camp and all that went out on injury reserve, and and Andrew Thomas. Okay, so far, basically during the regular season, is obviously Andrew Thomas is just doubtful, right, for this 1 week. But if you go to 2024, let me go here. The previous season, we'll go to the injury report here. All right. Now, for week 1, all right, I mean, a lot of these guys, too, once again, all got, a lot of them were injured, obviously, during training camp and all that. And a lot of these guys were released and stuff. They had injury settlements and stuff like that. But so we had 4 guys on injury reserve this year from training camp, and 1 guy who's doubtful, Andrew Thomas. But last year, week 1, okay, all these guys were on injured reserve, right? Ryder Anderson, Gary Brightwell, Yadni, I love this name, Yadni Caduced, Jashawn Corbin, Chase Cota, up to 5, Dennis Houston, Deion Jackson, Tyree Jackson, Deontay Johnson, Isaiah McKenzie. Is that it? Oh, there's more. Isaiah McKenzie. Okay. So we're at 10. Elijah Riley and Austin Schlottman, 12. 12 guys were put on injured reserve. Now, to be fair, it wasn't so much the guys were maybe on injury reserve and they were out for the whole season or whatever. Some of the guys, they were released and maybe they signed up with another team or whatever like that. But according to that report right there from Pro Football Reference, last year at this time, going into week 1, the Giants had 12 guys on injured reserve. And I said basically a lot of the guys it was in training camp. And some of it, was like I said, like the guys maybe didn't make they got injured, so they more maybe going to be back in time to make the team, so they released them or whatever it was. But 12 guys, okay, on injury reserve. The Giants this year have 4, and we got Andrew Thomas is doubtful. So big difference from one year to the next, right? Let me count all total how many guys the Giants had on injury reserved. Sorry, I keep moving my legs. See how many guys. Let me count how many guys the Giants. Oh, actually, let me share my screen, and I'll show you how many guys the Giants are at injury reserve last season, and I'll show you how, what they have so far here. Let me get a find it. Okay, here we go, right here. So it's called "Let's Count the Injuries," shall we? Okay, here we go. All right. Now this is one point or another. Last season, how many Giants were on injured reserve? Okay, now the dark red is injured reserved. Okay, so let's zoom in here. Okay, so we get the whole season here. Okay, and we can make it a little bit bigger. All right, there we go. Okay, so Ryder Anderson is 1. Gary Brightwell is 2. Yadni Gijus is 3. Injured reserved, right? Injured, the dark red. Jashawn Corbin is 4. Chase Cota is 5. DJ Davidson, all the way to the right there, right? So he's 6. Then we go down. Graham Gano. All right, so we'll go start here. Graham Gano is at the top. He's 7. Then you go all the way over to the right. Trey Hawkins is 8. Dennis Houston is 9. Deion Jackson is 10. Tyree Jackson is 11. Deontay Johnson is 12. You go all the way over to the right. Patrick Johnson is 13. Theo Johnson is 14. Greg Joseph is 15. Dexter Lawrence is 16. Raheem Lane is 17. Isaiah McKenzie is 18. All right, so we go up here. So we're at 18. Tyler Newman is 19. Azeez Ojulari is 20. Bobby Okereke is 21. Gunnar Olszewski is 22. Elijah Riley is 23. John Runyon Jr. is 24. Austin Schlottman is 25. 25. Kayvon is 26. Andrew Thomas is 27. And Armon Watts is 28. The Giants had 28 guys who are on injury reserved. 28. And apparently, if you look down here, okay, injured reserve, the 28 guys, but apparently they had missed that grand total. I guess there was like 132 games, I guess, on injured reserve. So 28 guys were on injured reserved last year, one time or the other for the Giants. 28 guys. But as I said, well, let's go. I said week 1, right? Week 1. Austin Schlottman's 1. Elijah Riley's 2. McKenzie is 3. Johnson is 4. Jackson is 5 and 6. Hudson is 7. Cota is 8. Corbin is 9. Yadni Gijus, just like saying that name, is 10. Brightwell is 11. And Ryder Anderson is 12. 12 guys we had in injury reserve last year. Then we'll go to this year at week 1. 12 guys. Here we go. Injury here, right? This is it, right? Bryce Ford Wheaton, injury reserve. Moore, Peyton, and Ty Summers is 4. Right. So obviously they all happened in preseason, but same thing with last year. But last year was 12 guys, but throughout preseason, training camp, and all that stuff. We had 12 guys got put on injury reserve and obviously got let go and all that stuff. But this year, we just got 4 guys, right? So, big difference. Big difference. If we can keep that up, that would be huge. But it's like 28 guys, I think the Giants had on injury reserve the one time and the other last year. 28 guys. More than half a football team. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So let's hope the Giants can keep that up. But Now, a little interesting here. A little interesting. We'll go over some of his, like what PFF has him as his stats and all that stuff. But with Elijah Garcia here, brought up from the practice squad. Elijah Garcia, not Mr. Chapman. Interesting, because obviously, as we know with Chapman is also the fullback, right? But they brought Garcia up. Interesting. Whoops. All right, here we go. Giants elevate defensive lineman Elijah Garcia from the practice squad. Giants announced Saturday afternoon that they've elevated defensive lineman Elijah Garcia from the practice squad. Garcia played 5 games last season, starting 3 after star defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence was lost for the season to a dislocated elbow. Garcia, a third-year player out of Rice, started the 2024 season on the Giants practice squad, but played better than expected after being signed to a 53-man roster. He had 14 total tackles, 2 for a loss, quarterback hit, as well as a fumble recovery, playing in 143 defensive snaps. Now, we're also going to see here, PFF has him as down as a sack, too. So, Giants released Garcia as part of their final cut down to the 53-man roster. It was a sign of the greater depth of the line this year, which is true. Because last year, Chapman made the team. This year, he made the 53. This year, he wasn't there. He's on the practice squad now, right? But the team also quickly signed him to their practice squad, meaning Garcia. This is the first of 3 potential game day elevations for Garcia under the practice squad rules. Once the Giants elevate him a 3rd time, they'll be forced to sign him to the main roster if they want him available for game day. The decision to elevate a defensive lineman is likely to improve their depth in the face of the Washington Commanders' rushing offense. Why the Giants elevated defensive lineman Elijah Garcia for the Commanders game. The Giants' first practice squad elevation of 2025 was one that certainly raised a few eyebrows once it was announced. New York's lone elevation is defensive tackle Elijah Garcia, a move that raised some concerns that either a Giants defensive lineman was suddenly about to appear on the injury list. Turns out that isn't the case. According to a source with knowledge of the situation, a report of Lawrence's wife being due to give birth any day to the couple's first child is apparently true. So, if she goes into labor, I guess sexy's gone. So I don't know, if it's 3 hours before game time and she's giving birth and he's going to be gone. If it's 3 minutes before game time and she's giving birth, Dexter's going to play. No idea, but she's very close to giving birth. So that would explain the elevation of Garcia to the roster, as Garcia's presence gives the Giants an extra defensive lineman should Lawrence need to leave the team to be with his wife before Sunday's kickoff. Further implications of the solo elevation, with Garcia being the only practice squad elevation, the Giants, interestingly enough, are in a position where they can now carry all 3 of their quarterbacks as active on Sunday's game roster. That leaves the door open for rookie Jackson Dart to potentially see snaps if the game spirals out of control, or, as some believe, the coach has specific scenarios in which they've penciled Dart into the lineup, which is always a possibility. Don't count them out, right? They get to a certain position on the field or something, don't be surprised if Dart doesn't run out there on the field. The Giants were to have declared an emergency quarterback. That quarterback would not have been permitted to play unless the 2 quarterbacks in front of them were injured and unable to play. This potential wrinkle adds another layer of intrigue ahead of Sunday's regular season opener, as Dart is coming off an impressive preseason showing, which has only amplified speculation as to how soon he will receive game snaps. For the time being, the Giants have insisted that it will be Russell Wilson as their starter, and that the intention is for Wilson to remain in that role for as long as he's healthy. But if the season begins to slip away, it's certainly fair to wonder if head coach Brian Daboll might pull the plug on Wilson in favor of Dart. The Commanders, meanwhile, elevated center Michael Dieter and receiver Chris Moore. The elevation of Moore gives Washington a 6th receiver on its roster. The elevation of Dieter, while somewhat surprising, given that all 9 of their offensive linemen are healthy, is likely a precaution since the Commanders don't really have a backup to starting center Tyler Biadasz. So, but let me go over here. Let me show you here. I mean, Garcia, yeah, he's been around a little bit. He's been a couple years, right? I mean, he's not a long-time grizzled veteran, but he's been around for a couple years, right? Bam, there he is. Okay, so we got obviously regular season. He's played some snaps. Obviously, 143 snaps last year for the Giants, but 2023 and 2022 he had some snaps with Denver. Looks like what we got for the 40 grand total, 49 snaps in those 2 years with Denver. But this is his 4th season. Okay, but last year, right? I mean, he didn't do too bad last year, especially when he had to fill in for Sexy, right? 143 total snaps. He graded out of 66.5. Not too shabby. Run defense, 68.5. Very impressive. His tackling, 75.7. His pass rush is obviously it's not the same as Sexy, right? But as I said, you'll notice here, right? You see in that report, they said that he didn't have a sack, but this is just PFF, right? They say he has a sack, but PFF doesn't have half sacks. Right? If it's a half a sack, they give him a sack. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but PFF has him down for a sack at 4 total pressures. So I mean, what we got? 78 pass rushing attempts. PFF had him for 4 total pressures. So basically 1 out of every 20 passing attempts, he'll get a pressure. Not quite sexy numbers, but not too bad, right? But I said, he's been around for a few seasons, right? Now, let's do the 2025 preseason. Okay. All right, here we go. Very, very impressive numbers here. Right, against Buffalo. Now, once again, he's probably going against 2nd and 3rd string teams, so I get that, right? But against Buffalo, the first game, 26 snaps, graded a 73.2. Against the Jets in week 2, he played in 15 snaps, graded at a 71. And then he started against New England, played in 34 snaps, and graded at a 61.6. But that was his tackling is what brought him down, okay, against New England. But his pass rush was very, very good, okay. Although once again, sure, all these snaps were against pretty much backups. But so against New England, his tackling was a 30, so he must have missed a tackle or something like that. Yeah, he had. Apparently, at grand total, I guess, of 4 tackle opportunities. He had 2 tackles. He had 1 assisted tackle, but he missed a tackle. So his missed tackle percentage was 25%. So that really lowered this tackling number here, right? Had he not missed that tackle, this number would have gone up quite a bit, and this number probably would be closer to 70. You know what I mean? So for the preseason, he did do pretty well. So once again, he's Elijah Garcia is not sexy, right? But if there's a chance that Sexy's got to leave because his wife's giving birth, right? Elijah will be the guy to step in there. But as it also says in that article there, that quite possibly all 3 of the Giants quarterbacks will be starting. They said, but don't rule out the fact that Dart. Oh, all right, buddy. You see him running on the field. Don't be surprised. And if he runs on the field, doesn't mean he's coming in the game to finish out the game. I mean, unless we're getting killed or unless we're killing the Commanders, but I don't see that happening. But don't be surprised if there's not a package here or a little package there for Dart to go out there and run onto the field. All right, and then finally, 10 things to watch for the Giants versus the Commanders, and also things to watch for, but also, is it time to drink the Kool-Aid? Well, we'll see. We shall see here. All right. So, Giants need to hit the ground running. It's been 8 months since the Giants last took the field for a regular season game. Following a long offseason in summer, the Giants are ready to finally get the 2025 campaign started. There has been a lot of talk over the last few months about different energy around the team. We saw that lead to positive results during the preseason with Coach Brian Daboll's squad going 3-0, totaling 107 points and finishing with a point differential of plus 60, which is very impressive. While those games won't end up counting toward the team's final record, it shouldn't be overlooked, obviously. Let's see, the all-time series. Sunday's game marks the 187th all-time meeting between the two teams in regular season. They faced each other 184 times, with the Giants leading the series 107-72 and with 5 times. 9 of the past 11 games between the two have been decided by one possession, including both of last year's matchups, which were both obviously won by the Commanders. Let's see. And they talk about Russell Wilson here. Speaking of Russell Wilson, a longtime NFL veteran is set to make his 200th career regular season start on Sunday, but his first as a member of the Giants. Wilson played in his first 2 preseason games of this season and finished passing 10 out of 14 for 136 yards, including 1 moon ball for completion to Bo Collins. Still can't believe the guy got tackled from behind, but for an 80-yard gain. While that was the only one he threw in the preseason, Wilson's famous deep ball made appearances during training camp on a nearly daily basis. And I'll tell you what, it looks pretty good. Wilson played in 11 games for the Steelers last season and led Pittsburgh to a 6-5 record. The veteran completed 63.7% of his passes for 2,482 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, which earned him a passer rating of 95.6. He also added 43 carries for 155 yards and 2 additional touchdowns. Now, to be fair, I mean, my son and I last year we went to Pittsburgh. My son's a Dallas fan, so we went to Pittsburgh to see the Cowboys play the Steelers. Wound up being a very, very good game. But I'll tell you, I mean, there was like nobody on the Steelers squad last year, on the offensive squad that scared me. There was nobody. I mean, so for him not have maybe super duper spectacular numbers, or they were 6-5. Their offense was just nothing impressive at all to me. Not their offense. The left tackle. The Giants entered the season relatively healthy with only left tackle Andrew Thomas listed on the injury report. Thomas has been working his way back from last season's foot injury. After it started training camp on the physically unable to perform list, the left guard passed his physical on August 19th and returned to practice. Since then, the Giants have been smart with their top lineman, whom Dable said is improving each day. Thomas was limited in practice on Wednesday before having a scheduled day off on Thursday, and he returned to practice on a limited participation basis on Friday, and his schedule is doubtful for Sunday's game. So it's going to be interesting to see. Probably have Hudson in there for him, right? Be interesting to see if Bo winds up getting any time in there, any type of like jumbo package. If there's any type of like a jumbo pack, if they put 6 guys, is it going to be Manhurts in there? They're going to put Neal in there. They're going to put Bo in there. Could be interesting to see. Time to unleash the pass rush. Yes. Seems to have been forgotten that for the Giants have one of the NFL's top pass rushes for a portion of the 2024 campaign. I mean, for a while there, they had like 35 sacks after like 7 games, or before it wasn't even halfway through the season. I don't think it was, or right around a half, and they were number 1 in the NFL. The last half of the season, they fell off big time. They only had 10, 12 sacks the last half of the season or whatever it was. But for a while there, they were number 1. For several weeks, the defense was on pace to break the NFL single-season sack record. Fortunately, the unit then dealt with numerous injuries. Well, Kayvon missed, 4 or 5 games. Dexter might have missed in the last, 4 or 5 games of the season. Burnsy was banged up the whole season long. Hey, check this out. Azeez Ojulari had injuries too. Shocking. I think, and the Eagles signed him, and I don't even think he was even active for the game on Thursday. He probably had some type of injuries. But nonetheless, the Giants had 45 sacks, were tied for 8th most in the league at the end of the season. So the big 3 of Lawrence, Kayvon, and Brian Burns have all returned and are entering week 1 healthy and ready to roll. The biggest change to pass rushes, of course, is Abdul Carter. Yeah. Number 3 overall pick was college football's top defensive player last season with 24 tackles for loss, which led the nation to go with 12 sacks. In his first preseason game, Carter recorded 3 pressures on 3 pass rushing snaps. including 2 against 4-time Pro Bowler Deonte Banks. I'm dying to say that on there. But they got to be careful, because Daniels can pull the ball down and just take off. So you're gonna rush. You got to rush and keep your lanes. You just can't just start going all hog wild crazy and everything, because if you just start running past him and he sees open field in front of him, he's going to tuck the ball down and take off. So they say players to watch. They're talking about Tyrone Tracy here. In his one start against the Commanders last season, Tracy carried the ball 16 times for 66 yards, 4.1 yard average. But Washington's struggles against the run last year were a lot deeper than that. The Commanders ranked 30th in the NFL in both rushing yards allowed per game, 137.5, and yards per carry, 4.8, while their 18 rushing touchdown surrenders was tied for 18th. They did make some changes up front, however, bringing in Javon Kinlaw and Von Miller, while parting ways with veteran Jonathan Allen. Then they talk about matchups to watch. Be interested to look at Neighbors and Marshawn Lattimore. Fresh off his historic rookie campaign that saw him break the franchise reception record, Malik Neighbors will face a tough matchup in the season opener. The second-year receiver will likely see a lot of cornerback Marshawn Lattimore in coverage. This will be the first matchup between the two, as the veteran was traded to Washington after the first 2 meetings between the division rivals last year. Lattimore played just 9 games last year and allowed 13 receptions for 151 yards and a touchdown, passer rating of 87.3, according to Pro Football Focus. Neighbors caught a total of 19 passes for 186 yards and a touchdown in his 2 outings against the Commanders as a rookie. But Lattimore represents a more difficult matchup than what the young wideout faced last year. So, going to be interesting to see, though. I mean, does Lattimore follow Malik Neighbors? Is Lattimore going to be on one side? Going to be interesting to see. Play obviously Commanders to watch. Obviously, Jaden Daniels. He's number one on the other team as far as guys to watch. Neighbors' former college quarterback put together an impressive rookie campaign himself, one that ended with the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Daniels completed 69% of his passes, had 25 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions, a passer rating of 100. He made an even bigger impact on the run game, while the dual-threat quarterback logged 148 rush attempts for 891 yards, good for an average of 6 yards per carry, while adding an additional 6 touchdowns. So, yeah, he can kill you with his legs and with his arms. So, I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult, to keep him under control. Very, very difficult. So, but it should be a very good game. I mean, the only thing is that, unless there's a couple bad calls go against one team and some freaky turnovers go one way against the team or nothing like that, for the most part, as the games were last year, they should remain relatively close. I don't see where there's any difference where it shouldn't be, as I said, unless, something happens, a strip sack for a touchdown or a tip ball up in the air gets picked off and run back for a touchdown. Some freaky kind of things kind of happen. I certainly don't see why this couldn't be, once again, another one-score game. And, I'll go out of the way. Once again, I'll drink the Kool-Aid, feeling good about the Giants. I say the Giants win this one 24-23. Be really, really close, and the Giants will just pull it out in the end. If the Giants are going to do anything, in this division, they have to do better than they did last year. I mean, obviously, without question, do better than last year. They have to start winning games in the division, and they got to find ways. Obviously, they're ever going to beat the Eagles, they got to, or catch the Eagles. They have to find a way to beat the Eagles, but somehow they got to find a way to beat the Cowboys. But tomorrow they're not playing, or shall I actually say today, they're not playing the Cowboys, right? They're playing the Commanders, so they have to find a way to beat the Commanders. And what should be a good close game, I got the Giants winning by a point. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 10 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of our heart. It means the world to me. As always, You guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.